Are you ready?
I am ready.
John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Come over the bridge, go through one set of lights. Pull a Yui, park in the street. Red neon light in the window, you can't miss us. Like and subscribe. You're watching on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, come be on the show with me. Start your own podcast. Tuck in your shirt, brush your teeth, get a job, get out of my face, all that stuff. We are here, newish friend. Never really had a sit down. Mm-hmm. Mr. Joey Madden.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fantastic.
Not a musician necessarily. Mm-mm. That's not the angle. But we have several angles, at least two angles. Mm-hmm. How do you want to currently works for
iHeart Media, iHeart Radio.
Hey.
So in Connecticut we have 11 radio stations, and I'm the VP of sales. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So all the advertising you hear on the radio and in podcasts and streaming goes through me.
Wow. How'd you get started in that?
Well, funny enough, it ties back to my bar days.
Oh, okay. How do you want to do this then?
Well, we could start there, and it'll end up going back to radio at some point. What?
Before we do any of that, let's just throw you into the bus right now. Okay, so Joey is the father of one of my students, Alyssa, who is giggling right here. Maybe perhaps you can hear her. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it happened. We were talking one day, and she said something like, you should have my dad on. He is in the music. And I said, it's not a bad idea. I said, do you think he can talk for an hour? She goes, my dad could talk for days. Yeah. That's what she said.
Well, so I am in sales.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And I said, okay, that's good. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. Yeah. And also we'll get into what I feel like the honorary title of best dad ever.
Oh, yeah.
For reasons.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? So we'll go in order now that we kind of know. So grew up where?
Grew up in Newington, Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Berlin.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently. Catholic school boy, so I didn't go to Newington High, but it's Catholic school for 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Far out.
Yeah. Very far out.
Yeah. And so bar business, you say?
Yeah. So I went to Central Connecticut State University.
Okay.
Worked in the radio station there.
Oh,
FCS.
So that was the long-term plan.
That was the long-term plan. I liked radio. And met a guy who's still a good friend of mine. Ended up being a roommate of mine in college, and he had some sort of a relation to the Scarlett O'Hara's in downtown Hartford on Pratt Street, which is no longer there. It's where Vaughn's is now. Okay. Vaughn's Pub right near Civic Center.
Yep.
So he started bartending there. I was maybe 19 or 20.
Wow. This would have been what year?
Oh, God, 90.
Wow.
90.
Yeah.
So he started bartending there, so I started sneaking in.
Sure.
Probably shouldn't talk like this in front of my daughter. No,
yeah, right.
I started sneaking in when I was a sophomore in college, and then they started having me bar back. So I started bar backing one night a week. They liked me 2 nights a week. Sure. Next thing you know, I'm pouring drinks. Hey. Next thing you know, I'm bartending 2-3 nights a week.
Are you 21 by this point?
When I started bartending, I was 21. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I bar backed for like a year or whatever it was. And then they would teach me how to bartend.
Sure.
It wasn't really that it was a shot and beer bar, a lot of live music, lots of live music. Back then, there was actually a pretty decent live music scene in Hartford.
Yeah, especially kind of Pratt Street was
right.
That was
there was 3 or 4 bars, Comet. There was other ones, that used to do it. But yeah, there was a good scene, about 4 or 5 bars. Yeah. So then started bartending, and then started managing it and booking the bands.
Wow.
And
yeah. Mm. So basically, the Scarlett O'Hara's of the 90s is you.
Yeah, well,
more or less.
There was a guy that owned it before we did named Duncan Leonard, who's passed away at this point, and he was a very eccentric, kind of loony guy, very entertaining to everybody, one of a kind.
Yeah.
Big drinker, kind of crazy guy. But across the street there was a clothing store that went out of business, so he bought all the mannequins and put them up on the walls.
Of course.
And then somebody brought a moose head in, put it on the wall. Somebody brought a bear skin in, put it on the wall. So the place was very eclectic and eccentric.
Sure.
And then so he ended up opening another bar called the Cool Moose, which was named after that moose.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
You might have heard the Cool Moose.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's wild.
So yeah, the personality of the place was him we kind of turned it into, like, at that point, 90s grunge was kind of big.
Yep.
So we kind of turned it into that scene, with the theme of the music and the bands and everything was more us. The personality of the bar was him.
So did you buy him out at a certain point?
Yeah, he was kind of in trouble financially with the place, and me and a couple of guys just put some money together. We assumed some debt, so he owed like whatever it was, 50, 60 grand in debt, and then we each threw some money in, and we assumed the lease.
Wow.
And we bought it. It was much more fun to run the bar, than it was to own it, because
what's the difference?
Well, when I ran the bar, I was in my early 20s, and I bartended there probably 5 to 6 nights a week. So and I had very long hair. I'll send you a picture.
Oh, that was you? Yeah.
That was me. Well, that's funny you say that, because that's what happens. I'll bump into somebody once every other month, and the Scarlet O'Haras will come up, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, there was this crazy bartender that had this long hair, and he used to pour this shot called the Dr. Pepper, and he was nuts." And I'm like, that was me.
That's you.
And I'm about as preppy yuppie as you can get now. Wow. And nobody believes me until I whip out a picture. Matter of fact, I have a picture on my phone if you really want to see it.
Yes,
but,
we do really want to see it.
Yeah, right now. So
we'll see how many people, because I don't know if I was quite on that scene, but I certainly knew about it. And we'll talk about what bands we had. So there's probably some people.
That's me when I was 18.
You're right here.
Oh, that's right. So that's me when I was 18. All
right, let's get a look at this.
I don't know, can you see it?
Oh yeah.
So the hair got about twice as long as that.
Oh, your dad was cute.
So that was 18. So you could imagine.
Yeah,
showing you that picture. All
right? Downhill from there.
Yeah, so it got a lot longer, and we, I've got a little bit of a crazy personality myself back then. So So anyway, my point is, from about 90 to 95 or 96, if you walked into that bar, you knew me.
Yeah.
And my other people too, but I was behind the bar most of the time.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And the bands knew me too, because I booked them, and obviously I was behind the bar when they played.
So the old owner made you the manager.
Yeah, he made me. We were very close.
He was just like, "Hey kid, it's time."
Yeah, no, I mean, I was bartending, and then the other manager moved to Boston. Actually, he went to go work for my cousin in Boston, and then they were like, "You're the natural guy." I was bartending like 3-4 nights a week anyway.
Was there a manager before?
Yeah, it was a guy named Bear. Paul Carbone, his name was. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then my buddy Nick Rodas is the one that got me into the business. He didn't manage it, but I don't know if you know Scott Sebastian. You know Scott Sebastian?
I think so.
He plays around a lot. I think I saw you guys on the same social media. Anyway, he was a bartender there, and
cool.
But yeah, there was a manager before me.
And you were ready. You thought managing. You're like, yeah, I could do this.
Well, I mean, I was 20 at this point. I was like 23,
yeah,
managing a bar, and I had bands coming in, and what goes along with that, and it was just
I guess we won't talk about the ladies or whatever.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I could write books on that place about the after hours that happened there and the shenanigans, and
I bet
it was a lot of fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
Did you, when it came time to own, did it seem natural, or were you just
not at all? Well, in those 5 years, I wanted to own. I always wanted to own something, but I kind of started looking into it, and I just saw my friends that owned bars and ran bars, and didn't go down a good road, So I was like, I don't know if I want to go down that road, drinking and up all night and all that, and I wasn't sure if I went down that road. So anyway, how I got into the radio business was, there was a couple DJs that started hanging out at the bar. There's a guy named John Osterland who was on CCC for years, and he ended up going to AAF in Boston. He started hanging out there. We became a little bit friendly, but it was the WHCN crew that came in. There was a guy named Morris Minor and Bacosi and the Horn, and Kat Sinclair and Pam
I knew
Brooks.
Kat pretty
yeah,
well.
Me and Kat are still very good friends.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. She invited me to her house like 2 weeks ago. She's out in Simsbury.
All right, time out. Mm-hmm.
Sarah's her real name, Adante.
Okay, yeah, I lost touch with her.
Yeah.
She was always cool with
Great.
me. So,
great.
Kat, if you're watching this, hey.
Yeah, I'll send her a text. She'll watch it now.
Yeah, it's Johnny Peckman.
Yeah, so Kat used to call me on the air when I was running my bar, and she'd be like, "Hey, it's Joey down at Scarlet O'Hara's. What's going on?" I'd be like, $1 drafts. What do you want to hear?" And I'm a big Stones guy, so she'd always play some Stones for me.
Yeah.
And so they all started hanging out at the bar. And I always thought I wanted to be on the air, and then all the salespeople started coming in, and they drove nice cars, and they played golf, and they went to long lunches, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool too. So next thing you know, they they dragged me over, and I started working there. Yeah.
Really?
1996 or 7.
And you sold the bar.
No, I hadn't even bought the bar yet. So right when I started working there,
Whoa.
not to say me leaving managing the bar is the reason when it went under, but when I stopped running the bar, so I didn't work there at all for about 6 months.
Okay.
And the
Starting
bar,
your new life.
yeah, it started my new life. I was like, hey, 9 to 5, I'm gonna put everything into this.
Yeah.
And that bar was going downhill. So Duncan had this minority partner at the time, and he came to me and another guy and was like, hey, you guys interested in buying in? Like, he knew we were the bar, you know what I mean? We were the personality of the bar.
Yeah.
So at the time I was like, I had some money, and I was like, okay, sounds cool.
Yeah.
I did it. That part I wish I hadn't done. The running the bar part was phenomenal.
But,
when I started managing it, I was doing this other
So
job.
here's what we're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So that part of it was like, I'm trying to get this career going, running the bar. So I was there 2-3 nights a week. That part was tougher.
Wow.
But the fun part was running it.
Yeah, I bet. Well, let's dwell on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so we can kind of tie it together with some of the cronies, some of the bands that you booked, some of the people that were hanging around there. Let's drop some names.
Yeah,
Let's see how many of them have been on.
Oh
here.
God.
It will probably lead to some more.
Okay, so Scott Sebastian and Joe Joseph and Rich Allen, and I'm missing. She was gonna kill. Debbie was the drummer. Was in a band called The Rain. There was 2 bands called The Rain. Though.
Oh yeah.
There was 2 bands called The Rain.
Okay.
This was Anyway, so they played Pack the Place all the time.
Okay.
Band called The Groundhogs. They're from Manchester. I still have their CD at home.
Yeah.
Monster Band.
Yeah.
You know Drew. Did you know Drew?
I did.
Yeah, Drew booked the bands before I did. So Drew would book
gotcha.
the bands for me when I ran it, and then when Drew moved to New York, I started booking the bands.
Wow.
So I knew Drew Monster Band. I know Ray Monster.
Yeah, I just played with
Ray
him.
Moran. Yeah.
Just play with him Sunday.
Yeah, very well. Mention my name, and he's playing with his daughter now. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
And,
he'll tune in.
Yeah, Liquid Circus, those guys. Oh God, if I can remember names, it was a long time ago. But yeah, there was a band called Sunflower that played there. That was bands. God, I mean, a few minutes, I'll probably remember a few more. But there were staples. I mean, Liquid Circus. There was a really good band called Faz Junk, which used to do like some Rage Against the Machine, that kind of early hip hop rock. Really good lead singer, and they were really, really good. But I mean, we did bands. We did bands every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday ended up being kind of a showcase night, so I would just let bands come in. I would check them out.
Yep.
And then I'd say, hey guys, come on in. You could play for free.
Sure.
And I'll check you out. And if it's any good, I'll book you on the weekends. So they would come in on Sundays, and usually some University of Hartford people or whatever. And then we did bands on Wednesday for a while, but it kind of came and went. But always Thursday, Friday, Saturday, mostly originals. They would sprinkle in, and
That's heavy.
There was, the Municipal was big. I don't know how old you are, but the Municipal and the Comet.
I'm probably older than you.
Okay, I'm 52. So
I'm older.
Yeah. So so you know these places. The Municipal, the Comet. The Cool Moose did bands for a while. I mean, the Webster had I think just opened up. So yeah, there was a pretty good scene.
Yeah, no, it was for a while. Yeah, we used to call Drew. All right, so I knew Drew. I knew that whole scene, with Drew and Ray. Just played with Eddie Corvo the other day on Sunday too. So I knew Drew from then, and we used to refer to him as the mayor of Pratt Street.
Oh, he was.
Right?
He absolutely was.
That was his
Yeah,
spot.
Drew walked into that bar, everybody knew Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knew Drew. He was he was a rock star. I mean, and I don't mean he acted like one because he really didn't. Everybody knew him.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes. Yeah, for sure.
Very talented.
Yeah. And then, I mean, just in case that you didn't know, so when he moved to New York, his roommate, I ended up in a band with Drew and his roommate and Jim Chapdelaine.
Oh, no way.
We were all, so I followed Drew to New York.
That's funny.
Kind of, when he went down there.
Yeah.
So we had a band that was half of us here and half of us there. And it was, so I would go down and sleep at Drew's and Pete's. Yeah.
I just remembered another band. Remember Hexenhaus? I don't know if you remember Hexenhaus.
Maybe.
They were great band. And then, you know what? The guitar player, if you give me a minute, I'll remember his name, teaches a lot. Blonde guy. Oh my God. A million years ago. And then he had another band too, Mr. Clash or Mr. Crash, something like that. Anyway, they'll come to me. But Hexenhaus was real good. And Eddie, they only played like once every couple months, and because all the guys were in different bands, every guy in the
Oh,
band
I
was in
see.
a different band.
Yeah.
And but
Somebody will know. Someone. In the
somebody will
comments
know. Hex and House, they'll remember that. They were unbelievable. That was very Soundgarden-ish type sound. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were right in the zone.
I mean, the bar kind of was around right when grunge hit. So like when Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and all that stuff hit. So like it was kind of a grunge bar. You know? Everybody that hung out there, it was an interesting place because it was near the Travelers. So you would get a happy hour crew with a bunch of guys in suits and ties.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden it'd be some skinheads, not but you know,
I know who you mean.
Yeah, and then be a lot of Doc Martens in there, and I mean, every lifestyle was accepted. I mean, lesbian and gay. I mean, it was very, very different like that. A lot of characters. Yeah.
I don't have any particular stories. I don't know where I was. I was in 8 to the bar probably that whole time. So I was off somewhere else. Didn't get there much, but I mean, I remember the scene.
Yeah, it was a weird. Do you remember the bar? Because it was long and skinny. It's the same footprint that Vaughn's has right now.
Yep.
But there's a upstairs. There's a balcony.
Right.
And we used to put the bands up
Right.
there,
I remember.
which was not popular with the bands, unfortunately, because we had a pool table in the back. And when the bands got really busy, we would get rid of the pool table and just pack the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would put bands downstairs, but most of the time they're up on a balcony. So it was a unique place to see a band.
Yeah.
And the place would get really rowdy, like when a band would really get going. So, old school.
The good old days.
Yeah, it really was. I mean,
Memories.
there wasn't another place like that,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, you would know. By the time I kind of got a little more local, it was Sully's was that was the spot. Although I did play at the Muni.
Yeah, so Sully's who was the guy that ran that? Help me out. Daryl.
Yep.
No, not the owner. Who's the guy that ran it? He always
Steve
worked hard.
McQuaid.
Steve
Oh,
McQuaid.
yeah.
Thank you. So Steve ran Lord Jim's.
That's right, across the street.
So Lord Jim's, that guy Nick Rodas I mentioned earlier he was my best friend. He ran Lord Jim's.
Oh, okay.
And I ran, and then Joe Josephs ended up running it. Anyway, so he worked at Lord Jim's, and he used to play in a band at Scarlett's.
Okay.
And then he started Sully's. And Sully's was a very,
right.
That was a very kind of Scarlett O'Hara's type of place.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. To me, that I got in there because of Steve McQuaid.
Yeah,
because he knew me as a drummer. So I was playing with Ray. So, so I was over there.
Yeah, I still see Daryl around too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Most everybody's around.
Yeah.
Shout out. But see, this is usually what happens too with the show. Is now I'm making another list.
Yeah.
Because eventually I've been doing these long enough. I'm telling the whole Connecticut music scene story.
Yeah.
And this is like a different slice.
Yeah, it's a slice. It's a chapter.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, this one, that one, this one, this one. So if anybody is watching and we mention your band name or anything, hit me up.
I'd love for anybody to remind me of some of the bands that played there. No, I don't mean because it was a messy time. I mean, it was just a long time ago.
Yeah, sure.
But there was some really good bands that made some really good music.
What are
Evil Twins? That was another good band.
Huh.
Anyway,
I mean, without throwing anyone, not to say like to prioritize. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. But who most memorable?
There was this band called the Groundhogs that were from Manchester, and they were just a fun bunch of rocking guys. They jammed really good. I have their CDs in my basement somewhere.
Who was in it? Anybody we know?
Oh, my God. I never remember. And I used to book them for New Year's, like 3 years in a row, just because I knew it was going to be a good time. There was a bar in Manchester called O'Reilly's, and one of the son was best friends with these guys. He wasn't in the band, but he was best friends with them.
I played there. It was out in the sticks, kind of.
Yeah. So I couldn't, I haven't seen those guys in a million years.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I first got into the radio business, one of the bands was called Evil Twins, and I just loved them. I just personally thought they were a great band, so I tried to help them as much as possible. And I tried to help manage them a little bit, again, when I first got into the radio business. So I was owning the bar at the time in the radio business, and the band Creed had not even broken yet.
Right.
So I actually had Evil Twins open up for Creed at the Webster.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That was pretty neat. And Creed, a year later, hit it big. Yeah. And one of our stations was Radio 104. I don't know if you remember that station. But
sure.
That we sold it since, but we own that bar. So we did Radio 104 Fest. Wow. And Creed played it every year, but not that he remembers us, but whatever.
Well, no, I hear you. I hear you. So you're at iHeart, starting your new life. Hard transition. Were they right when they said you were right for the business?
Oh yeah, it was great.
like, okay.
I mean, I could have left there a long time ago.
Alyssa's nodding.
We doing okay, kiddo? Yeah. We, it's a living, and I could have done a million other things once I got my feet wet and gone anywhere, but I actually really like it here in this part of the world.
Wow.
And so, I've had friends go to New York, Boston, whatever, Chicago, LA.
And you decided to stay here?
I like it here. I do.
Why not?
I'm kind of a smaller, quiet town boy,
Yeah.
so.
And we have access. That's the thing about New England.
Yeah.
You have access to New York or Boston.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a beach guy. We go to Rhode Island a lot. I go to Boston a lot. Like you said, I can ski. I can be in Boston. I can be in New York, whatever, so.
It's pretty cool.
But the transaction was super hard. It was really hard because I went from working 7 days a week at a bar and partying all the time and up until 5 a.m. and all that. And then, 9 to 5 basically. And starting from the beginning, I was making zero money at the radio station, like less than zero. I mean, my first year I made $18,000 in radio, but I took off very quickly in radio and sold the bar in 1999 to the other partners.
Oh, all right.
Sold my stake just because I was really kind of taken off and I was just trying to move away from it, and so I sold it.
So you made the right move.
I did, yeah. I got out at the right time too because they kind of got sued after that.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, it was weird. Yeah, I don't mind. We all got sued by the landlord, which that happens when you kind of default. So that cost me a little bit of money, but the the state of Connecticut sued us for past liquor tax.
Oh,
and this is actually when I first got married to Alyssa's mom.
Okay.
We were living in East Berlin, and it was like, I don't know, a month after we got married, and she got a piece of mail. She opened it up because she was like, okay, whatever. Sure. You're my husband now. I can open your mail. Yeah. And it was a bill for $110,000 from the state of Connecticut.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That was just one of a couple. And she was like, okay, what did I get myself into here? Whoa. So, but they sued us for past tax, and it was kind of a witch hunt. They had done it to a lot of bars, and they basically said, I don't care what you recorded. This is the amount of alcohol you bought. Therefore, you should have delivered this amount of tax.
Oh,
but if you've they did this formula.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been to Scarlett O'Hara's, there was nothing that was over like $4. Like there was $1 beers all the time, $2 drinks all the time. So we kind of gave the place away. None of us got rich off the place. So,
I got you.
It was just a big party.
But then you owe all this tax.
Yeah, but I ended up I'd gotten out in time, so I didn't have to. I mean, it cost me some lawyer's fees, but I didn't have to. But anyway, I got out in time. In 99, and that was it. So
do you think I'm trying to remember around then, I haven't been there. I know it's not like it was as far as live bands playing and stuff like that, because we were just, I guess when you think about it historically, we were in that bubble. Like you say, because grunge was it was a thing. I don't know what kids do now.
And it's a whole different thing because even back then there was 5 or 6 nightclubs. I mean, the Brickyard and the Bar with No Name and all these nightclubs that there would be lines down the street, thousands and thousands of people. Where do they go now?
I don't know.
So I think they kind of go to the outskirts a little bit. I think they go to Middletown, or some of them go to
Why did Hartford just shut down?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was right after that. Whalers had a lot to do with that. I mean, we did a big Whalers crowd.
Okay.
There was a lot of business in downtown Hartford. We did a pretty big lunch crowd, and then those guys would always hang out. So a lot of those insurance companies kind of cut back.
You're in that wedge with the band too. Yeah. We were all young playing in bands, and then you grow up.
And
and
there was a lot of places down there that did live music, even though it wasn't like me. Like Chuck Seller used to do a lot of live music, but it was more cover bands, right. Or even Rookies or Ashley's before that. He was a good friend of mine, Bill. Did live music, but it was more cover bands. I mean, even that's cool, I mean, whatever music's music, you know.
But it's not like a Hartford scene like it was.
Oh, God, no. I mean, that kind of died right around 99.
Right.
I mean, right around then.
So you were right there.
Yeah. I mean.
Made the right move.
And, I mean, I remember if I took a night off, like, we would just bop around to different bars and watch different live bands because we knew all these guys. We're like, hey, Circus is playing over there. Let's go check them out. See his set,
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like watching... the Seattle grunge at a much smaller level, obviously, in a way. It was pretty cool,
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I don't want to be sad. I don't think about it much, but that was a thing. And I think for bands, too, like grown up with it, I realize in Hartford, the Hartford Advocate had a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
And when that was no more, You know,
there was a I'll bring it if any of those old bands they'll remember this. There was a second publication called the Hartford. It was called the Plant. I actually have a copy of it. I'll drop it by for you to look at. It was a publication called, I want to say it was called the Hartford Planet. It was all about live music and just local scene, very much like the Hartford Advocate.
Wow.
And the Hartford Advocate back then was a lot more grassroots than it is now. It's more corporate now.
Right.
But back then, I mean,
You had India Blue. She was
totally. She was great. Yeah. They used to hang out at the bar. You know, they'd all bop around, and they would do reviews and stuff like that. Yeah. And you could open up the back page of the Advocate, and there would be a list of bands. You'd be like, all right, where am I going on Saturday? All right, Liquid Circus playing here, the Rain's playing there, or whatever.
Now I'm getting sad. That's a drag.
I think about it. I really do, because it was a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Everybody got along. Nobody fought. There was never, I don't remember ever not getting along with anybody.
Huh.
You know, everybody just wanted to kind of listen to some music and have fun, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and didn't really care. I guess this is the ideal. Like now when you're in a band, it's all about the draw. And then we keep thinking about the way it used to be was if you trusted the place, you knew that it was going to be decent. You cared who was playing there, but you didn't really care. You were just like, it's fine. Whoever's playing, it'll be fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, Scarlett's was a vibe, you know. It was more, like you just said, it was more like, hey, let's go to Scarlett's. The place, you know what? People used to say, you know, I drop by on a Thursday. Hey, let's stop at Scarlett's for one drink.
Yeah,
famous last words, right? Then you close the place, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, it was more like, hey, and we used to charge a cover. We used to charge like $3 to $5 depending on the band. And all the money went to the band. Yep. And if we let a few people in here and there, we would pay the band for it or figure it out at the end of the night, whatever. Yep. And we just wanted the place packed. And none of these bands made a ton of money. I don't even think they wanted to make a ton of money. No. They just wanted to play, you know. Kind of turned a little bit when like some of these, I can't remember the name of the band, but there's a band that plays out at all these places that charges like $2,000 and $3,000 now. They do covers, you know.
Oh, Derek and the Fun
That's
Bags?
the one, right? That's the one. And nice guys.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know some of those guys.
But that did change.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. One of the bass players, I don't know if he's in Derek Funbag. His name's Mick.
I don't remember.
Derek's
the bass player. So.
Okay, so maybe it's not Derek. Anyway, there's one of those bands that plays out. I see him. I see Mick. When he plays, I can't remember the name of the band.
Yeah.
He played in another band at Scarlett's that was a totally just originals. And now he's playing in a cover band. Not that it's anything wrong. Right. It's just having fun, you know. Yeah.
Well, the Harbor Park down here used to be part of the scene too.
Yeah, did they do a lot of live bands? They did. Did they? Yeah,
I played there a lot back in the day.
Yeah. And I do remember going down when a friend of mine's band would play in like New Haven or Hamden somewhere or somewhere like that. We would travel, so there was a little bit of that too. I actually remember we rented a bus once because one of the bands, it was the Rain. It was Scott's band, played at CBGB's, and we rented a bus and we all went down and support our guys at CBGB's. Yeah. So that was funny. A pay-to-play situation. CBGB's. Yeah.
I never played there.
No,
I'm like the only one out of my.
The place is. You been there?
Yeah.
The place is just like you imagine. It's the diviest place in the hits. I mean,
crazy.
I mean, Scarlett's was like that. Your feet stuck to the floor in that place.
Well,
but that was, you know, somebody said, hey,
but it's a good stick.
It's a good stick because people used to go, hey, if you had some bucks, what would you do? I'm like, you know what? The charm of this place is the diviness of it. Like, I think that's why people liked it. Like,
what was the counter to it? If you guys were the dive, where did it fit?
With other places that were similar, like the Comet was probably similar. Comet had a place downstairs. I forgot what they called it. The Comet was out on Farmington Avenue. It was a diner. It's still there. It looks like a diner on Farmington Avenue in Hartford. And they had the upstairs was a diner. It was a restaurant, but downstairs was like an underground bar. You ask Ray next time you see him. He'll tell you what it was in a second. I can't remember the name of it, but they did a lot of live music there.
Wow.
And the guy that owned the bar before me, Duncan, had the Cool Moose over on Sisson Avenue, which is where the Half Door was until recently.
Right.
And bands used to play there, but bands used to play at the Muni. You'd play, you know.
Yeah.
Some places. I mean, Murphy and Scarletti's, but those are more cover bands. That used to play there.
Yep.
But and then Sully's was kind of on the tail end. But I mean, it was kind of neat because it was perfect timing because if you think about like the 60s when like all that hit, it was like, it's sort of the same thing. Like right when grunge hit was a perfect time for this bar. Like there wasn't like that scene.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, no, it was perfect.
You were there. You kind of got the best of all worlds.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Time to grow up. I guess you kind of slid into
That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, I had to grow up at some point,
We all do.
Yeah, but
apparently,
like my daughter said, like I like to talk, obviously, but those two places, I basically know everybody now. Like I was in the bar business in Hartford, and now I've been in radio for whatever it's been 26 years.
Yeah.
And so I tend to end up knowing everybody at some point.
Wow.
You know.
Well, talk about that. So, you start at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean back then. So in the 80s, you weren't allowed to own more than one radio station and one TV station in every market. So every radio station in Hartford, there's like 12 of them, basically. 12.
And what comprises a market?
Like the MS, like Hartford is like the Hartford County, you know, and then New Haven County. So that's the market.
So basically area code, more or less.
Yeah, but it's everything. There's 1 million people in the Hartford market.
Okay.
You know, a radio market.
Yeah.
So, there was 12 radio stations in the Hartford radio market. You know, WDRC, WHCN. WHCN stood for Hartford Concert Network. CCC stand for Color Click Clarity. You know, anyway, there's some funny stories there.
Hey.
But anyway, they all used to be owned by individual people. So in the late 80s, they passed a law that said big companies can buy multiple radio stations.
Okay.
But you can't own more than a certain share of voice. So you can't push propaganda, that sort of stuff. So again, in the early days, every radio station was owned by an individual company or family. Mm-hmm. So then all of them started getting bought up by these companies. So when I got into radio, it was owned by Merv Griffin. Merv Griffin owned WPOP and WMRQ and WHCN.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is HCN's the River 105.9 now. Then year after that, we bought the country station, Country 92.5 from the Gilmores, who were down in Waterbury.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. And then, before that, they had bought KISS 95.7 from, I think, Montgomery. Yep. But there was, again, individual owners. Yep. So it just changed a little bit. So it was a little bit smaller company. And then we were bought by a little bit of a bigger company, then a little bit of a bigger company.
Oh, boy.
So since I've been there, we've been, I think, 6 different companies. The last one being Clear Channel. You might have heard of Clear Channel Communications. Yeah. Was a big radio group across the country, and then they rebranded themselves as iHeart about 8 years ago. So Clear Channel is iHeart. It's the same company.
I see.
They just rebranded themselves as iHeart because of the app and because of what they're doing. You know?
Mm-hmm. And you survived all of those.
Yep.
How?
You know what? Just survive. You know, I was a seller back then, so I just sold advertising. So I just hustled. You know,
so that's what it is. So you're selling. You're going to
car dealers, bars, restaurants.
I see.
You know, anything. You know what I mean? HVAC, anything you listen to on the air that you hear an advertisement for. It's changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, but back then it was just local advertisers. It was just you know, Middletown Toyota or
so you're just
whatever.
Hitting them up every day.
Just hitting them up and just being like, hey, want to buy some ads on my station? You know, we reach this demographic. You want to buy some ads? So,
and then the more stations you own,
right?
You're just kind of like, I have
whatever
all of these,
right? And then about 6 years ago, we bought a bunch of digital companies. So now we do a bunch of digital. Wow. And then somebody had the bright idea about 5 years ago to start buying podcast companies. So,
you want to buy this one?
Yeah,
hey,
I know.
Dave.
So they started buying podcast companies. And now we're the biggest podcast publisher and distributor in the world.
Wow.
You know, iHeart is.
Are we on there?
You might be.
We might be. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
But so we sell ads there too. So, but we do it all across the country now. So if we get an advertiser, whoever, you know.
So you don't have to. You're not hitting up the locals necessarily.
We do, but it's a little bit of everything. So it just kind of opened up the whole country. You know, even to be honest with you, COVID helped our industry because everybody started doing virtual meetings more and. So now I could talk to somebody in New York or LA or wherever. I gotcha. Just like instead of going to visit them and build a relationship. Yeah.
Wow.
So our people sell advertising where they used to sell $30,000 deals. Now they sell $1 million deals. So it's pretty cool.
Huh. Mm-hmm. And where is it all? Eventually, you just what's after podcasts? Who knows? Whatever
who
the
knows?
Next thing is.
I mean, 6-7 years ago, you would have never thought podcasts would be.
Right.
And we joke around that whoever in our company made the decision to start getting into podcasting was bronzed right now because it's a huge moneymaker for us. It makes a ton of money for us. It's very popular, and advertisers love it because they tune into your show at the beginning. They're going to tune at the end. So there's a couple ads in there we can sell you. You know.
Hey, wow.
So you want to slip an ad in here for anybody?
I don't know. We gotta wait till we get to those numbers. I don't know if it's worth it yet. We'll have to look at our numbers. I don't know. Is it worth it yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Someday it will be.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Mm.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, how does the so doing that, selling for iHeart, how does that get you the music business schmooze that made you best dad ever? How does that happen?
So, I mean, one of the perks of the job is definitely access for sure. So we have a performance studio in our offices are in Hartford.
Okay.
In Columbus Boulevard. We have 5 of our radio stations in Hartford, and the other ones are in Hamden. So we have a performance studio there where we have up and coming artists. So like before Lizzo got big, she was in there, and, and my daughter met. We were supposed to go the day COVID hit. Literally, she was in our studios, but we had to shut her down. And then about 2 weeks before COVID hit, she met Charlie Puth in our studios. Taylor Swift's been in there.
Whoa.
Keith Urban, a lot of people before they were popular.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So back then, the artists needed the radio stations a lot to push their music. It was like, you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of those artists. So my daughter loves this band called Lovejoy, who's actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know you've heard them too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a punk rock thing. Remind me of the early Violent Femmes kind of thing, right?
So here, let me just interject.
Yeah.
So so I'm Alyssa's drum teacher. So we get to a certain point, we learn some skills. We go, okay, cool. Learn a couple of songs that I picked just to kind of get up and running. And I go, okay, what do you want to play? What do you want to learn? And I know some stuff. I don't know everything. Yeah, and she played me this band Lovejoy. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like Morrissey singing to me. That's what it sounds like.
Actually, that's a good one.
Yeah. And it's cool. I'm like, yes, this is a band. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And she's all into him. She's telling me, this guy's this, and he's got the YouTube channel and everything. It's so cool. And then one day, she's like, I'm so mad. Lovejoy's playing in New York City and I can't go, or something like that, right?
Tickets sold out in like one.
Yeah, tickets sold out in a second.
Yeah.
And she's all,
she had me at work trying to get her tickets because she's at school, and they sold out in a second.
Yeah. And so I don't know how you did it, but anyway, the next week I saw her. She's like, I'm like, so what's new and exciting? I saw Lovejoy. I'm like, no, you didn't. She's like, yeah, my dad got me in.
Yeah.
So I just said, best dad ever, right? For until further notice.
Yeah. Of course, my other daughter wanted to see some other YouTuber this past year for her birthday, but they weren't on a record label, so we didn't have people.
You could.
Yeah, this Lovejoy was on a record label, kind of like an indie record label that another record label owns. So just ask for a few favors.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And you know what? To be honest with you, the record rep was he was like, that's so cool that your daughter's so into it. I want to do this,
Yeah.
And he kind of set us up right next to the stage. And,
why not?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting. They were really good. I was actually impressed.
Yeah. I mean, I dig it.
Yeah.
It's
either that or go to a Taylor Swift concert. So I was like, this is better.
Do we agree?
What do you have against Taylor Swift?
I don't know. See, we're old guys. I have nothing against Taylor Swift.
Yeah, me neither.
But Lovejoy, I was like, this is rock and roll.
It's rock and roll, right?
Right.
And it's smaller.
Right. Well, it's rock and roll.
Right,
like,
but I mean, for old guys like us, we
Yeah.
relate because it's like, there's a guitar, there's two guitars, bass, drums, and
And to me, it's like there is no rock and roll anymore. Like, what is rock and roll anymore? Like, when's the last time a Kings of Leon or a Pearl Jam or anybody came out and was popular? I mean, there really isn't anymore. It's like pop rock now. I mean, it's almost like rock now is country. Like Chris Stapleton is like rock now.
Seems like
it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, now we're going to talk like old guys.
Yeah.
There's so much. I think you can find anything you want. And I think there
that's true.
But you just got to, it doesn't come to you anymore.
Correct, right.
I got, I have a nephew. He's, close to 30 by now, I would think, if he's not 30, but he's pretty cool. He's out in Boulder, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of follows bands. And every once in a while, he'd be like, Unc, he'll call me up. You got to hear this band, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. You ever hear of them?
No.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. Because he's kind of into Fish, not really my thing.
Yeah.
So no offense, I don't always trust his recs. I'll be like, okay. And King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, you got to check these guys out. And I'm listening to it. And this is before I saw them. I just sent me a link to this live show. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is rock music.
Yeah.
Like, this is not jam band to me. It was like, it sounded like Live at Leeds.
Yeah.
It was like, heavy guitar.
Yeah.
And there was moments when it was like metal.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is jam band music? And I'm like, I don't understand this. There was like shredding. It
Right.
sounded like Judas Priest covering Motorhead. That's
Right.
what it sounds like.
Right.
And then I'm like, I don't understand this. And I watched the show on MTV thinking that they were, because like we're old. We think that like, and I've had this experience with Alyssa. It's like we're used to identifying music by the way they look. So I hear the music and I go, man, these must be metal guys. Then I look at them and they're just kids wearing Crocs and they're short. Like, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
There's no image.
And you realize they don't, it comes uncoupled.
Yeah.
Like sometimes my students will be, they want to learn a song and I'll look at the video and I'll see like the artist is dressed entirely differently from what the music sounds like because they don't relate it.
Right.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I guess, like I say, for old guys like us, we're used to identifying what something sounds like by what it looks like. But none of that seems to matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, so King Gizzard was the last thing that I was like,
I'm a little out of touch
like
now.
rock and roll. Like I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, they sold out Red Rocks 4 nights in a row.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, never heard of them.
Yeah.
But they're killing it.
Yeah.
So it does exist.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm just out of touch. I have 2 teenage daughters, so it's hard to stay current with rock music because they're. Although again, I kind of like what she listens to, so it's not bad.
No, it's we mix it up. We try to mix it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to be the old guy that tells kids what to listen to.
Yeah.
Because like when I was young, I missed out on so many things because as soon as an older person told me what to like, I automatically didn't like it.
Right, of course.
And so I don't, there's things that I should have liked that I didn't just because someone said that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely got into some music from the 70s. I grew up in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Much later.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
my parents weren't really music people, so
No,
not really. I mean, like, Elton John, Billy Joel stuff, but
sure.
but not really music people at all. So my experience in music really started in college,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did you ever fancy becoming a musician or no?
I played a little drums.
Oh, yeah?
A little bit. And my brother-in-law, I was saying earlier that my brother-in-law worked for Fender.
Oh,
and he
okay.
worked for Ovation for a lot of years for Command.
Right
over here.
Right. Up there.
And so he was a guitarist. So I tried to play a little bit, but never really kind of got past that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it must be around because she's interested.
Yeah.
So.
Well, whenever my brother-in-law sees her into it, he like one time we were down. He lives down in the Virginia area, and she was taking. I think you were doing some guitar or whatever. So he walks in the other room, grabs a guitar, and just hands it to her. And he goes, "Take this home." He goes, he wants to promote that as well because it's a love of his.
Yeah. Why not? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's usually the way it works.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, what were some of your You say in college is when it really started to happen. You started to get interested in different music stuff. Like
I mean, I went
thing.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school my whole life, so really small schools. I mean, there was, so in the 80s, I was in 86, 87, 88, I was in high school, so like hair metal was big, Motley Crue and Skid Row and all that. So everybody listened to that, I guess.
Yeah.
And but then, really, when I got to college is when grunge hit.
Boom.
And then I was really big I'm still a big Pearl Jam fan, but then I started getting into a little bit of jam bands after that. Like some of the guys I've started playing golf with about 15 or 20 years ago were kind of Dead fans and Allman Brother fans. So that kind of stuff is what I mostly listen to. Black Crowes, that kind of stuff. Like just, Blues Traveler, anything that's kind of grooving, Big Stones fan. Again, guy in college was a big Stones guy. So he got me into the Stones. So yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you got caught up.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, again, being in the radio business, I listen to a lot of country. We have a country station. I take them to shows at the Xfinity a little bit.
Yeah.
Listen to everything. Rap is pretty much the only thing I don't listen to.
Yeah. So what's coming through? What's coming up?
It's a weird year.
Is it?
It's a weird year. It's a very, very light year at Xfinity. We're wondering the same thing, to be honest. There's usually a good 20, 25 shows, usually about a good 10 country shows.
Huh.
They've only announced like 5.
I wonder...
It's weird.
I guess touring business, they haven't recovered yet. That's what I keep hearing.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of them are playing. The casinos changed the dynamic. A lot of these guys play at the casino because 10,000 seats at Mohegan pays more than 25 in Hartford.
Sure.
So Kenny Chesney's a good example. Kenny Chesney could sell out 2 nights of 25 here.
Yeah.
He plays 1 at the casino, and they pay him the same.
Yeah.
So Bruce Springsteen played the casino. I mean, but you can't even afford those tickets. I mean, nobody can afford those tickets. So, you know, a lot of artists are going down to Bridgeport now, the Hartford Healthcare
Right,
Arena,
that
which
thing.
is I don't know if you've been there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, back in the day. I haven't been there lately.
Yeah,
but-
it's small.
Yep.
It's the old baseball field. They converted to a
Right.
in like an amphitheater, but
Yep.
it's I don't think they hold 5,000 people, but
Yeah.
they're getting Black Rose played there last year. You know,
I'm going to see Cake
Mm-hmm.
at the New Haven. Used to be the, what do they call it now? It's the outside. No, it's
Westfield.
Yeah.
That's a great venue.
I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, a lot of jam bands there.
Yeah.
We do. We have a partnership with them.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cake's cool.
Kids
Yeah.
like bluegrass. Or
Yeah.
what they think is bluegrass.
It's funny. My other brother-in-law, Alan, is huge into bluegrass. They live down in Baltimore, and he's
Yeah.
huge into bluegrass.
Yeah,
and
I
it's-
like that
It's
stuff.
me too. It's got, like that's the type of music I kind of equate it like jazz to me. Like I could listen to jazz for hours and not know who's saying what.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just like it. It's just
Yeah.
a groove, you know. Same thing with bluegrass. Like I can put on a bluegrass station, and I'm like, who sang that? I have no clue, but I liked it. You know.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
it's kind of that thing for me.
All right. Well, you know what? If you can, we have like kind of wrap up questions to
Mm-hmm. Sure.
cover something, but drop a celebrity story on us. Drop your craziest.
Oh,
if you
God.
can.
So Lenny Kravitz was in the studio one day, and
When would this be?
oh, this is I have a picture of that too. I'll show it to you. I don't know if I think I do. This is easily 22, 23 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And he was very high, very, very, very high.
I would expect no less.
And he went from studio to studio to do interviews, and he
Oh,
went
boy.
to our Kiss 95 station, which is a top 40 station,
Yeah.
to do an interview with Courtney from Kiss in the Morning.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, she's been on the air for almost 30 years. Anyway, trying to do an interview, and he's just baked,
Oh,
just
no.
baked, and she's just like not getting anything from him, and she's getting annoyed. Finally, she just says, "Can you just leave my studio?" Anyway, right after that, we took a picture with him, and I have the picture, and he's just gone. He's just gone.
Probably awake for 3 days.
I know. But we had Dee Snider was our morning show in Hartford for Radio 104
that's
in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So he broadcast from downtown Hartford. So Dee used to have some entertaining people. I remember walking in one morning and CeCe DeVille was with Poison, was literally screaming and running up and down the hallway. We're like, what is going on? It's like 8 o'clock in the morning, you know?
But it's not 8 o'clock in the morning for him.
No, I remember sending a limo to, I can't remember his name, but the lead singer of Skid Row, Sebastian Bach, lived in New Jersey. And he was coming up for an event we were doing. So I sent a limo down for him. And we didn't hear from the limo driver for a while.
Uh-oh.
So we finally called, and we're like, what is going on? And Sebastian's wife called us, and the limo driver had gotten in an almost fatal car accident going to get them. So the event never happened. But
Whoa.
yeah, so
That's heavy.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of 80s celebrities because of Dee. But I mean, you know, we've met a lot of celebrities just by going to meet and greets and stuff like that. A lot of the country artists, like Taylor Swift, was in there when she was 17 years old.
Wow.
Keith Urban. I mean, a lot of these
cool.
guys came in when they were young.
Did you get the sense with Taylor Swift that she was just going to keep climbing to the top? I don't know much about her.
It's so funny. Like the one thing I do remember is he was just focused. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was like nothing stopping that kid.
Yeah,
you know what
that's
I mean?
what
She
I'm
was going to
saying.
be a star. And I don't care if you thought so or not. You know, like nothing stopped her.
Interesting.
And she was a country music star for a while.
Right.
And then she made a conscious effort to just switch. You know, but she still plays country, I guess, in her shows. But yeah, very talented. But yeah, she was sweet. Carrie Underwood, we met her one day. She's like this big.
Really?
And she's so tiny. And I
didn't know that.
I remember giving her a hug, and I thought I was going to break her. She was so sweet.
Imagine you're the one that broke
I
Carrie
know,
Underwood.
for real. But yeah, not too many crazy stories. I mean, back when Dee was around, there was a lot more. I mean, radio's changed a lot too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be a lot more artists like literally hanging around because one of our stations was an alternative station, Radio 104.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. We had
Yeah.
we had an Earth Day concert at the front lawn of the state capitol. Oh my God, who's the bands? There was 3 bands, you would know them, like national bands, and it started raining, and there was like 10 or 15,000 people there, just tore the place up, started throwing
wow.
mud. It was crazy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would remember that. Maybe.
That was about 2000. That was the year 2000.
Yeah, I don't know.
Spring of 2000. Yeah,
Wow,
Earth
that's
Day.
heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to I don't remember, I was in a band an original band back in the late 80s and we hooked up with Kat Sinclair. from HCN somehow. And she would have us on. The band would come on. And
Yeah, she used to do like a spotlight show.
Yeah. So we did a spotlight show, and for some reason, she and I kind of hit it off. We were hanging out, and when I would be on the road doing gigs, I would just tune in, and if I heard that she would usually be on, but I would like come home from a gig and like just park in the back parking lot and just ring the bell. She'd be the only one in the building.
I know the bell upstairs.
Yeah,
she used to take you upstairs, right?
Yeah, and then she would just, who is it? And I go, it's Johnny Peckman. She go, oh, come on up.
Yeah,
and we would just hang out while she did the show.
Her husband's a musician. He's been in a band for Mark. Her husband Mark has been in a band for years. Wow. He's a big musician and really passionate. That's probably why she does a lot of what you were saying, because she kind of feels for wants to help the local
musician. She was always really cool.
She's still a good friend. Yeah.
Oh, cool. We'll tell her.
I will. I definitely will.
All right. Wrap up questions. Well, first of all, is there anything that we did not talk about that you would like to?
No. That's
pretty much it.
Yeah, it's nice.
What's next? Just
I mean,
more
raising two teenagers and just living life now. You know? Life's changed a lot.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, run into a lot of people from back then. Some of them have kind of progressed. Some of them haven't. Some of them aren't with us anymore. So. It's definitely, made the transition, thank God.
You made it. Yeah, I was just going to say that. You made it. That's cool. And they don't even recognize you.
It happens. I mean, I have a friend of mine that I go to his house. He's kind of a chef. And about 2 years ago, sitting there talking, and he's like, oh, this guy used to make these drinks there. I'm like, Dr. Pepper shop?
That's me.
And I'm like, that's me. Yeah.
That's funny.
Happens 5-6 times a year. Really.
Wow. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. Do you have any desert island albums that you would take with you to the desert island?
That's probably a good one. I mean, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, like a ginormous, still to this day.
Yeah.
It can't be a compilation. It has to be one album.
Care.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'd probably make a compilation. I have a compilation album that I have from Pearl Jam with some live stuff that I listen to often. Couple Stones albums. I can listen to the Stones over and over and over.
What are your
never
favorite?
Gets old. Beggar's Banquet, that era.
Yeah.
I remember. I can't remember the name of the song, but I picked Alyssa up from her drum lesson one day.
Oh yeah, bitch. Yeah,
and she goes da 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 da, and I go da 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 da. She goes. She literally hummed 3 bars, and I was like, oh yeah. So I went home and played it, and one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah. I'm a mediocre bass player. I play with the students, and a riff that to see if I'm. And I guess you started singing it, and then you text me. You're like, "Were you playing "Bitch" by the Rolling Stones?"
Yeah. I'm like, "What song is that?" She's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "That's "Bitch." I'm like, "That's one of the best Stones songs."
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, Stones and Pearl Jam. You could basically put those two with me, and I'd be happy.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So you got to wonder. I guess we still don't know. I think he got ruled out, but is Matt Cameron doing the Foo Fighters gig? We don't know.
I don't know. I know. My favorite drummer, so that's a good, I don't know, are you a Pearl Jam fan? My favorite drummer from Pearl Jam was actually technically the second one, Dave.
Sure.
He was great. Sure. I mean, Matt is great, and Jack Irons was great, and they were all great. They were just different.
All great.
They're just different, but Dave was my favorite. He was like just smashing cymbals. I love drummers that smash cymbals. I don't know. Like I was like, when I was in high school, I was like a Tommy Lee, Neil Peart fan,
Yeah.
Just love guys that smash cymbals.
Guys that smash cymbals. It's funny. Desert island food.
Yeah.
Weird question.
Yeah. What do you think? Seafood?
Oh, yeah.
Seafood.
Oh, really?
We're a big we have a summer home in Rhode Island, my family. So but when these two were, old enough to eat, we were eating lobsters and oysters and any kind of seafood. So
cool. Any
kind of seafood sitting on a beach.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Any spots around here you want to give a shout out to or no?
For restaurants?
Yeah.
I mean,
like who's good around here? I'm not a big seafood person.
For seafood around here, we cook our own around here. I mean, we typically keep our seafood for Rhode Island. We go up to Galilee and go to Champlin's and George's, and there's a place called Jim's. What? Yeah, Jim's, Doc, and there's some spots up there that we go to, but I end up in the summertime. I end up at golf courses a lot, so I eat mostly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I can't ask. Are you a consistent practicer of your instrument? What are some of the?
I do.
I
did buy her a drum kit that sits in my garage. Thank God I sit on 4 acres, so my neighbors don't hate me. So she has a drum set that sits in my garage, and I do make her go out there and practice. Right?
Good.
And,
no, she's good.
And I got out there and started playing one day. Remember that?
Yes.
I get out there and just start jamming. She's like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You're smashing the cymbals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, we got a thing going.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
keep telling her, especially lately, I'm like, you're sounding like you're playing drums.
Yeah,
You're doing
yeah.
it. It's killer.
Yeah.
So here's one I can ask that I usually ask. Can you think of any one particular show that you saw that changed your life, that blew your mind?
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot, actually.
Do you?
I mean, it's funny. One of the top, I saw a Black Crowes. Actually, I got a good story about the Black Crowes. But the Black Crowes, in the 90s, I saw them play at the Xfinity, and it was the most insane thing I've ever seen. They were so unbelievable. And then I saw the Counting Crows 2 weeks ago, and I never wanted to hear them ever again. They were so horrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the Black Crowes actually ended up in my bar twice.
Wow.
They were supposed to play at the Bushnell, got snowed out, ended up in my bar.
Whoa.
Very intoxicated, a lot of things.
Sure.
And then about a year later, they came back to make up the show, snowed again, and I ran into them in a different bar.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
And you're like, I'm the guy, I'm the Dr.
they
Pepper.
didn't remember me,
Yeah.
and even though we drank all night. But yeah, that was a good one. I mean, every Pearl Jam show, to me, they're a band that just gives it 110% every single show.
Yeah, right.
So every show I've ever seen of theirs has been unbelievable.
Yeah, they became like a road band.
Yeah.
Like when it's all said and done,
Yeah.
they're like a road band.
Yeah, I mean, there's some bands that phone it in here and there.
Yeah.
I've never seen. I've probably seen them 30 times, 40 times.
Yeah.
Never seen them phone it in once.
Hey.
Yeah, good shows.
God
but
bless 'em.
seen some good country shows.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, those guys put on some pretty good shows.
I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Foo Fighters, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They put on a good show. They opened up for Aerosmith once, and they blew Aerosmith off the stage. I mean,
not
they
surprised.
Foo Fighters were so good live.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw them pretty much all along the way.
Yeah.
You know,
Saw
every
John
once in a while.
Popper up at Killington one time. That was sick. He was got a little bar.
Yeah.
He was unreal.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I bet. Pretty cool.
Mm.
Hey, well, we could get out of here unless you have anything you want to add. Do you want to drag Alyssa on? And do you want to be on camera? You don't have to. Yeah, just let everybody. This is the voice from the here.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when you're here.
This is my
There
pal.
she is.
That's my buddy.
Yeah, there she is.
That's my pal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'm happy she's taken. You guys are doing a great job. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I
We have
mean,
fun.
it's just like, me and her mom always just try to find anything with passions.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I tell them I don't care if it's chess or basketball or
Yeah,
whatever. Just find something to be passionate about it. She seems to like the drums. So
Cool.
I like
Yeah.
it.
No, it's my pleasure. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. You know what? We're gonna go. I'm gonna press the button. So don't get scared. There's gonna be loud crashing cymbals. Joey Madden, Scarlett O'Hara's from This Is the Guy. This is the dude with the long hair
Yeah.
serving you the what was
Dr.
it?
Pepper shots.
The Dr. Pepper shots. That's him.
Yeah.
And then controlling your media,
Yeah, right.
and you're going to be controlling more media.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
All right, Joey Madden. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate it. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland, Connecticut. Go through One Satellites, pull the Yui. Park in front of us. We have a red neon sign. Like and subscribe. You're on YouTube. Tell your friends. Come on the show. Dave will tell you how to have your very own podcast here in our beautiful studio. Joey Madden, thank you. Alyssa, thank you.
Thanks again for having us.
You got it. See ya. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net/podcast.